prophecy that like today is supposed to be the rapture that's going viral all over TikTok.
In the end, there will be rumors of wars and earthquakes and all these things will happen.
This is the crazy part about all this. End of days, all this wars of war. And the end of Matthew 25 is about the sheep and the goats.
This almost sounds like some conspiracy that was put together. You know, the reason I say that is I was just in my lifetime.
The beautiful part about Matthew, you're talking about Matthew 24, is the end of Matthew 24. Jesus says in verse 36, but about that day or hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father.
I feel like that would be like me saying, you know, when the end times come, you'll start to see men cheating on their wives. You know what I mean? And it's like, men have been cheating on their wives since the beginning of the time. Not all men, but
Jesus is coming back. The world's going to get dark.
It was Matthew.
Okay.
It was in Matthew, and I open it up, and it's about the end of the world. And I'm like, well, this isn't the inspiration I was hoping for.
Abomination of desolation and all that.
And it was talking about, he was talking about, you know, in the end, there will be rumors of wars and earthquakes and all these things will happen. And I don't want anybody to think I am mocking the Bible, because I look at that, you know, that is, you know, even though I haven't read it all, but I have given my life to Christ, and that's the way I try to live, you know, the best that I can, I guess, right? But, you know, I'm reading that and I started thinking about it, and a lot of the guys on my team are a lot more educated on the Bible than I am, you know, from their upbringing and stuff. And so I called Darren. He's my lead editor. Or I didn't call him, I was texting him, and I was like, you know, man, I was like, this almost sounds like some conspiracy that was put together. And, the reason I say that is I was just in my lifetime, we have always been at war. And so, you know, rumors of wars and wars. There's, you know, very young, we had Desert Storm. The U.S. spent 20-something years, you know, in Afghanistan, Iraq. We've been to Somalia, we've been to Panama, we've been to Colombia, you know, and I was like, man, I don't even remember a time where there wasn't war. And those are just wars that the U.S. were involved in. That's not, you know, all the civil wars that are going on in Africa, the Middle East, and in Israel and South America, you know, and then I was thinking even more, and I was like, I don't think there's ever been a time of peace in human existence. I mean, the Roman Empire, the Persian Empire, Alexander the Great, you know, China. I mean, there's always the Greeks. There's always been war, civil war, Native Americans. I mean, and so, you know, I kind of thought about that, and I was like, and there's always been earthquakes too, right? There's always been war. There's always been earthquakes. And I was like, well, this is almost like convenient, you know, to say that. like a good conspiracy theorist would take a pattern and say, when you see these things, this is what it means, and this is what's going to happen. And, you know, I feel like that would be like me saying, you know, when the end times come, you'll start to see men cheating on their wives. You know what I mean? And it's like, men have been cheating on their wives since the beginning of the time. Not all men, but, and so I just want to, you know, I mean, this is fresh in my mind. You're obviously very studied on this stuff. So I just want to get your take on what I'm feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you're feeling is the angst that a lot of people are feeling right now. I'm not sure if you know this, but there's an actual conspiracy rumor prophecy that like today is supposed to be the rapture that's going viral all over TikTok. And so there's a ton of people, like the day we're shooting this, I don't know when this is coming out, is that this is going to be, like it's all going to be gone either yesterday or today, right? So that's happening in real time. And I think that that's a real angst that people feel.
Wait a minute, the rapture is supposed to happen today?
Yeah, like apparently
I guess me and you got left
behind. So there's been a long history of people reading and trying to interpret and trying to say what is and isn't supposed to happen and how it's supposed to go down. The beautiful part about Matthew, you're talking about Matthew 24, is the end of Matthew 24. Jesus says in verse 36, but about that day or hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. As it was written in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. And then he goes on to explain craziness and all this insane stuff that's going to be happening. But the beautiful part about everything you're describing is that from here, from that passage of like rumors of wars and all the abomination, all this scary stuff, Jesus then goes into Matthew 25, which is one of my favorite chapters in the Bible. And there's two parables and one story. I'll try to condense it for you because I don't want to get you too in the weeds. But he opens up with the parable of the 10 virgins, the wise and the foolish virgins, waiting for the bridegroom to come back. Jesus is the bridegroom. There's virgins that are wise. They had oil to keep the light on for the bridegroom. And then there's virgins that weren't paying attention and they got left out. So now he's talking about the end of days, and he's giving you a parable, a story with these virgins, and there's a ton of context with the bridegroom and the virgins and all this sort of stuff. So he's like, hey, basically, I can come back whenever. Like, live with the imminency of Jesus as if he's going to come back at any moment, right? Which is yes and amen. But then something interesting happens. From the parable of the virgins, Jesus coming back at any time, right? He goes into the parable of the bags of gold, or the parable of the talents. There's one person he gave 5 talents to, one person he gave 3 talents to, one person he gave 1 talent to. There's a master that's going on a mission. He leaves some money with his servants. The guy who has 5 takes the 5, invests it, doubles up. The guy who has 3 doubles up. The guy who has 1 hides his talent. Right? He's afraid. He's scarce. He doesn't want to engage. And so something interesting is that the guys who doubled up, Jesus says, well done, my good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with little things. Now you'll be faithful with more. Right? And so end of days, Jesus is coming back. It's going to get scary. He goes into stewardship of resources. How are you managing the time, the talent, the treasure, the things I've entrusted you with? Right? So in light of the whole conversation of the end of days, it goes right into, hey, what are you doing with what you've been given, right? What have you been doing with the time, talent, and treasure that you've been given? And the person that doubles up, he's rewarded, he's celebrated. The person that doesn't, he's rebuked. And it says, verse 26, is the person that had the one and buried it. He was afraid. He didn't want to try. Verse 26 in Matthew 25 says, his master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I have harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So that lazy one, he rebukes him. But this is the crazy part about all this. End of days, all this wars of war. Live as if Jesus is going to come back. Make the most of your time, talent, and treasure. And the end of Matthew 25 is about the sheep and the goats. And Jesus goes on to say, I'll just read it to you because I'm trying to paraphrase, but I'll just read it to you. It says, when the Son of Man comes in his glory, the end of days, and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, come you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. Verse 35, for I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him and say, Lord, when did we see you hungry? And when did we and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes? When did we see you sick or in person or go visit you? Verse 40, and the king replies, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did to me. So from when we read all of this in context, I think the big idea from Matthew 24 and 25 is, hey, Jesus is coming back. The world is going to get dark. However, as people of the book, as followers of Jesus, as people of the way, our job is to utilize our time, our talent, our treasure, our platform, our personalities to usher in the most amount of good so that we can help the least of these. And the least of these might be the widow and the orphan. The least of these might be the persecuted Christians overseas. The least of these might be those folks in our own country that have a distorted worldview. But ultimately, as followers of Jesus, regardless of when the end comes, we're called to care for the least of these. We're called to utilize and be faithful with what's in front of us. And in that, be a blessing to other people. So that like the end of days stuff, every single talk on the end of days in the New Testament all goes back to, and live such good lives among the pagans that though they accuse you of doing wrong, they see your good deeds and glorify God on the day he visits, right? That's the beautiful part about this gospel, this story of God coming in the flesh, living the life we couldn't live, dying the death we should have died on the cross in our place for our sins, and doesn't just give us hell insurance and goes, man, the world's going to go to hell in a handbasket, but I got you in the afterlife. No. He sends and allows us to experience a piece of heaven on earth, to usher in his kingdom. And that's what I love about that entire sequence of events, of Matthew 24 and 25, is it lands at, man, we get to do good. Like, we got good work to do on this side of eternity.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.